This was all ripped apart. They had all the insides hanging down and all these moldings were off. We can't even get them back on. So I got up there and they pulled me over for a search, and I was just concerned about being late for bingo. I wasn't much concerned with anything else except I knew I'd have to pay duty. And so I stood on the sidewalk and I watched while they searched the van, and they pulled out a jar of what I figured to be oil. I didn't even know at the time that it was in there, but they said, "What's this?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, I suppose motor oil." So they handed it to me, and I tried to open it, but the lid was on too tight, so I said, "Oh, I suppose it's motor oil." I handed it back to them. So then, they handed it to another woman who took it inside the building. And I still didn't think too much about it. I didn't really think anything of it. I thought, well, maybe I should have had it labeled, or maybe they're just going to throw it away or whatever. So I went in there and I waited to pay the duty, and I kept looking at the clock, I saw them all gathered in back around a table, and I still didn't think anything of it, thinking they were just doing border business or whatever. And then one of the border services people came over there and they said, "Can we talk to you in the other room?" And I thought, oh great, I'm in trouble because I didn't have that oil labeled or something. And other than that, I had no clue. So they took me in there and they said, "We tested the substance that you had in the van, and it tested positive for," and I don't even know what she said. It was some substance that indicated heroin or was heroin or whatever, and it went right over my head because it was so implausible that I said, "What?" And she said, "That tested positive for heroin, something, something." And I said, "Well, that's not even possible." So then they had a bunch of people in there talking to me. They did a strip search. They called down the drug sniffing dog, I guess, from one of the other border posts or wherever they came from. And then after the dog went through the van, they came in and told me that they found traces of marijuana, cocaine, meth, and they said many other drugs in the van. And I said, well, that's not even possible. And later my lawyer told me that they found absolutely nothing, no traces of any drugs in the van. So that was just, I guess, a ruse for some reason. I spent the night in Steinbeck in jail, and I waited and waited for the RCMP to come back. At that point, they said they were taking me to Winnipeg and put me in jail there. My daughters had been trying to see me from the time they were up at the border the night before when I was arrested, and then they went right up to Steinbeck in the morning trying to see me. They did give me a couple minutes to talk to my 3 daughters there before they took me to Winnipeg. Went into the courtroom in shackles. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law were there, and 2 of my daughters. My lawyer spoke up for me to have bail and to go to, I was offered to stay at my daughter's in Manitoba so that, they wouldn't have to worry about me not coming back. I was going to stay at my daughter's. I was going to check in at the Sprague Police Department once a week. And the Crown did not want me to have bail. She said that because they lived so close to the water and the border that there were too many ways for me to sneak across. So 7, my daughter was supposed to come and visit me. At 6:30, they called a couple of the girls for release, And I heard them call my name, and I thought, well, my daughter's here and she's a little early. I'm a little bit hard of hearing, so I always ask the other girls to tell me what they were saying, but they said that they called me for release, and I said, no, my daughter's coming to visit me. I'm sure that's why they called me. And they said, no, they said your name for release. And they started bundling all my things up and carrying them down for me. And I went downstairs, and at the end of the counter were 2 officers, and they told me to change into my street clothes, my own clothes, which I did. And they took me out to the car, their car out in the tunnel, and they told me to get in, and I said, well, where am I going? And they said, one of them said, well, we're taking you back to Sprague so you can get your vehicle. And I said, well, what happened? Because I never got any paperwork of anything from them. I said, what happened? Did my daughters get bail, or did they test the oil, or what? And he said that the RCMP had tested the substance, and based on that they decided to stay all of the charges. So I said, well, do I still have to go back to court then? And he said, no. He said, no, you don't have to go to court, you're free to go.